Hello there. It's Doug Pugh. Welcome to this live video inside the Latter Day Musiversity Facebook group. This is the first of a series that we're going to do each week, every Wednesday at 12 noon. Hope you'll join me for these live music analysis get-togethers, for lack of a better term. Really, what we're doing is we're looking at what makes your favorite church music tick. And today we're going to look through a very favorite piece that you are super familiar with. I know for sure it is the great primary song. I'm trying to be like Jesus. Okay, so I got about a half an hour. I want to hang with you. We'll see how far we get. We may not get through the whole thing, but the point of this is I'm here to serve you. I want to serve any of you who are working on writing church music, not necessarily at a crazy high level. It can be any level, truly, that you want, from very basic to intermediate to super advanced. I'm happy to help with any of those things. My real goal and purpose is to be of use. I feel like those who can do should do, and I feel sort of, sort of duty bound, really, to help where I can. And so, welcome you each week on these Wednesday lives, and I'm happy to receive requests because analyzing music can help you in such a fantastic way as you're learning to write music. That's one of the best ways that I continue to learn how to write music, is by studying and analyzing the music of others. So today we're going to hop into I'm Trying to Be Like Jesus, an old favorite, and I've shared my little iPad screen here so I can be the music nerd and do some analysis with you. Okay, so let's, there's so many levels on which we can do analysis. So like number one, we could do some structural analysis, right? Like, how is the piece built? How many phrases are there? Where are the cadences? So on. Number two, we can analyze the text. What's the meter of the text? How does it fit together? Does the meter stay throughout? Do they fudge the meter at all? Number three, we can analyze the melody. What makes this melody memorable? What makes it sticky? What makes it something that we can't get out of our heads, that which is crucial when writing primary songs, because we're teaching by rote, right? That we're assuming that the children don't read music. We're not handing them sheet music. We're teaching them by rote. So the melody is so crucial. And number four, we can analyze the harmony. What makes the emotional undercurrent of the piece or the song or the arrangement or whatever really hold it together? What gives it those feelings? And this is where I get the most excited, because harmony is really where the emotion comes in. Of course, melody is so crucial as well. Okay, so let's see how far we get today. We can always pick this one back up next week to finish if we don't get all the way through. Let's look at the structure of this. Okay, and structure and text, they kind of go hand in hand when it comes to a primary song. All right, so let's look at the meter of this. Let's just kind of go through the text for a second. I'm trying to be like Jesus. I'm following in his ways. One sentence. Oh, somebody can't get the link to work. Darn it. I guess you're going to see all my messages today. Oh, well. I guess maybe I could put on airplane mode. There we go. Okay. So let's back up. I apologize. Let's count the syllables, starting here. I'm trying to be like Jesus. 8. I'm following in his ways. 7. So that's a line of 15. I'm just going to make notes here. 15. This is in the verse. Then I'm trying to love as he did. 8. in all that I do and say. 7. So that's another 15. So 15 and 15 in the verse. Now, this is a unique primary song because it has what we call a bridge right here. This bridge begins. We have a verse here. We have this, I mean, I'm not getting super crazy technical about song form and stuff, but there is sort of this bridge section that links the main verse to the chorus, because the chorus begins here. So we did 15 and 15. Now, at times I am tempted to make a wrong choice, 11, but I try to listen as the still small voice whispers, 13. Whoa, interesting. 11 and 13. That's in the bridge. And then the chorus, counting syllables still. Love one another as Jesus loves you. 10. Try to show kindness in all that you do. 10. Be gentle and loving in deed and in thought. 11. For these are the things Jesus taught. 8. So the chorus is 10, 10, 11, 8. All right, so we really have 3 clear sections in this piece. We have the verse, we have the second part of the verse, which really bridges to the chorus, and we have the chorus. Okay, so in the back of the primary book, we don't have a meter section like we do in the back of the hymnal, so we don't get to kind of peek at these numbers when it comes to the primary songs. But I love doing this kind of analysis because it helps us to see the shape of the structure. And as you're writing texts, you may come up with an idea to write a text for a little primary song or for a hymn or whatever. And maybe you only have a couple of lines and you're not sure where to go with it. Well, doing this kind of scansion analysis, this kind of, how many syllables per line, how many beats per line, this kind of analysis we're doing is super helpful because it will give you ideas of what you can do when you come up with your own little bit of a primary song text or a new a new hymn text, or maybe you want to take a hymn arrangement of a favorite hymn and do something a little different with it and add some words to it. Well, you got to make sure you fit the words to the meter. How do you know the meter? Well, you got to analyze the meter like we just did. Okay, so this tells us really that our verse is a 2-part verse. We have 2 phrases here. Our bridge is a 2-phrase bridge, and then our chorus is 4 kind of smaller phrases. Okay, so now let's dive a little deeper. We looked at the structure of the text. Now, how did the composer put the text into a musical shape? Okay, with musical phrases. Well, first we have an intro right here. Let's see if I'm in the right key. Right. So we have a 4-measure intro, and I like to draw this out. Like, okay, so intro, we have 4 measures. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we always want to see what's happening at the end of each phrase, because that's what we call musical punctuation. In other words, cadences. And the musical punctuation helps us understand where the music is going. Even if we don't know how to read music, we hear the cadences. Our ears are so trained, whether you're tone deaf or not, from birth to get the clues of music. Pop music does this, classical music does this, church music does this, all sorts of music has punctuation, and it gives cues to the listener of what to expect. So knowing those cues as composers helps us to tell our audience what to expect. Okay, it gives them certain expectations, and playing with those expectations is when writing becomes a whole lot of fun. Whether, at any level, whether it's a very basic primary song, a hymn arrangement, a symphony, anything. So, okay, we have our 4-measure intro, and the punctuation here. See, we're in the key of B flat, and we pause. This cadence right here pauses on a 5 chord. If you need a little refresher about Roman numeral analysis, what's a 1 chord, what's a 5 chord, all that kind of stuff, I've got some free intro to harmony lessons available inside of my app, the Latter Day Musiversity app. If you head over to dougpewmusic.com, at the top of the screen there's a Musiversity tab. Just click that, and it'll show you how to get access for free to the app. And inside there's some intro to harmony lessons that will help remind you, or maybe teach you for the first time, some of these basics of Roman numeral analysis. Anyway, what I was getting at is this pauses on an F major chord, not a B flat chord. We're in the key of B flat. We pause on F, which is the 5. Then we start the tune. So the little intro, and then the piece really begins here. Okay, so now based on the phrases of the scansion that we looked at, we're going to track the musical phrase. All right, so you know this. Okay, there's our first 15. I'm trying to be like Jesus. I'm following in his ways. Musical punctuation. What did we pause on? See, we started on a B flat chord again, right here, a 1 chord. But here again, we pause on an F7. So that's another 5 chord. Okay. There's a bunch of different types of cadences. When you pause on a 1 chord, it's some type of authentic cadence. When you pause on a 5 chord, it's usually a half cadence. There are others. Those are the 2 biggies for now. So here, this would be considered a half cadence. It's like a comma in punctuation. Same thing here. We have a half cadence. Okay, and this is the first 4 measures of our verse. Now the second 4 measures of our verse, take quick stock of the melody here and here. The first half and the second half start the same. Ooh, interesting. Hold on to that idea for a second, and we'll come right back to it, because we want to see how long this phrase goes. We know that the first 15-syllabled phrase lasted for 4 measures, so let's jot that down here in our verse. We did another 4 measures. Okay, and then I'm trying to love as he did in all that I do and say. That's the end of that second phrase inside the verse, and it's another 4 bars. So we can extend this out. 1, 2, 3, 4. So our verse is 4 measures long. Then let's go back to that point I was just making, how the first half of that phrase began C, D, E flat, F, and the second half of the phrase began the same way. Okay, that's a very unique kind of phrase. Really what we have here is we have 2 phrases. We have a first phrase and a second phrase, and this was like a comma because it ended on a 5 chord there, which we call a half cadence, which usually happens at the halfway point. And together, those 2 phrases are called a period. When you put 2 phrases together like that, we call it a period. In other words, it's like a question and an answer. An idea is presented, and then it's followed through on. This particular kind of period we call parallel, because the beginning and the halfway point start the same. They end up being a little bit different. The second half of this phrase is different than the first half. So it's not like an exact parallel period, but it starts the same. And the reason that's important is it gives continuity to your melody. If the second half of your tune begins the same way that the first half of your tune began, it's easier to remember. So this is pretty common to have this kind of what we call parallel period. So sometimes we get contrasting periods where the second half, the answer begins differently than the question began, the first half. But it's very common, especially in rote music like this, that we have parallel periods. Okay? Now, Janice Cat Perry pulls a little trick on us. Instead of ending as we would expect this to end on an authentic cadence. Because we started with a 1 chord at the beginning of our verse. We paused on a 5 chord, like a comma, a half cadence. So we've gone away from the 1. Now we expect to return to the 1 at the end. That's super, super common. Happens like in tons of music. And so our ear is naturally kind of looking for that closure. We started at 1, we went away from 1. Now where's the closure? How do I end on this 1 chord? But she doesn't do that. Let's look. Okay, so back to the beginning of the verse. B flat major. Pause on 5. I'm scrolling down as he did. Ooh, she does not end on a 1 chord as we would expect her to. She ends on a D7. Whoa! What is going on here? Well, I'm glad you asked. This is one of the reasons this primary song is so excellent, is it plays with our expectations a bit, and it's following the idea of the text, right? This idea of, I'm really trying. I'm making an effort. It reminds me of that old commercial from the 80s. Oh my gosh, I love this commercial. Remember those old church commercials that the church would do? And there's this little boy, this little blonde head bowl cut boy. He's like, must be 3 or 4 years old. He's sitting down at the breakfast table, and from up the stairs, his dad or somebody's like shouting at him, "Would you stop that?" Or I can't remember exactly, but he gets reprimanded for doing something wrong or for not doing something. I can't remember the details. But his sad little face crumples, and in this like crying voice, "I was trying to," like this so sad little voice. Oh, it just eats you up. It reminds me of this. It's like this yearning. I'm really trying. Like, you know how a child wants to please their parents so much. It's that kind of feeling. Right? The text is giving us that kind of feeling. I am trying to be like Jesus. I'm following in his ways. I am trying to love as he did in all that I do and say. Now, naturally, we're going to fail at that because we're not perfect. Even as children, we have these challenges. And the text takes us to this, "At times I am tempted." So would it make sense musically? Would we be giving the right expectation to the general congregation if we ended this phrase on a happy 1 chord? No. Because it needs to go to a place where we feel like, oh, I was tempted to make this wrong choice. We need to have a bit of an internal struggle. So what she does is she begins to modulate, and she does not like a full-blown modulation. It's really kind of a tonicization for a few bars where we slip into G minor. Okay, so right here, we slip into G minor for about 4 bars, sort of. It's not really stable, and then it makes its way back to the 1 chord here, where it makes sense, right? After, "But I try to listen as the still small voice whispers," right? The Spirit comes to our aid, whispering, "Love one another." That's going to help you to try to be like Jesus. What's the secret? Love. Love one another. That will help you when you're tempted to make a wrong choice, and so on. So musically, it makes sense to save the 1 chord for this moment, which she did, for the chorus. Okay, and it kicks off a new tune that's also very memorable and that we heard in the introduction of the piece to add even more continuity. So, but to end this phrase, she ends it on the 5 of G minor. Because you can't get to G minor successfully without giving some kind of clue that you're going to G minor. And in this case, it's the 5 chord of G minor, which is D7. So this D7 chord, it really wants to go to here, to G minor. Okay? So it's a good little trick to use in maybe an arrangement of yours. Maybe there's a hymn that you just love and you're so excited that maybe your ward choir will get to meet in real person again soon, and you just can't wait. And you are so excited that you're going to arrange them a new piece, and you've been thinking, gosh, you know, this second verse is a little bit more sad than the first verse. And I'm just being totally like off the cuff here. I'm not even thinking of a particular hymn, but let's say that that's the scenario, that you're presenting a first verse pretty much as the hymn goes, and you're writing a second verse of this arrangement that needs a little bit of a sad quality to it, so that the third verse can come back and sort of save the day and be happy. This is a great way to do that. Slip into the relative minor. Okay, maybe it's the parallel minor, and I'm getting a little technical here. So parallel minor is where like B flat major versus B flat minor. They have the same name, and you have to deal with my disgusting chicken scratch, I'm sorry, versus relative minor, which shares key signatures. Okay, so again, I have a couple of free little lessons over in the Latter-day Musiversity app, which you can get at ldmusiversity.com. It's totally free. You can download the app on your smartphone and check out some free intro to harmony lessons there to refresh some of this. But a relative minor shares the same key. So we're in the key of B flat major. For every major key, there is a relative minor key, and they're 3 half steps away from each other. So if you're in B flat major, the minor key that shares the key signature with B flat major is 3 half steps below. B flat down to A flat, G. There it is, G minor. So G minor and B flat major share the same key signature, and it's quite easy for music to go to the relative minor, because it doesn't have to make any kind of huge chromatic leaps, because it shares the same key signature. In other words, they share most of the same notes. Right? All you got to do is successfully get to the 5 of the new key right before you want to start the new key, and voila, you've done it. That's what they did. So instead of ending this second phrase on the 1 chord, they modulated, and they did a half cadence in the relative minor of G minor, which takes us, as James Brown would say, taking it to the bridge. Okay, now let's look at our bridge. How many measures is our bridge? At times I'm tempted to make a wrong choice, but I try to listen as the still small voice whispers. It's only 4 measures. Okay, so let's draw that out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Normally when I do this, I mark all the important chords. So like we started with the 1 chord here, we paused on a 5 chord here in the intro. We started the verse on a 1 chord. We paused halfway at the 5 chord. Then at the end, that whole long explanation I just did was ending on the G minor, the 5 chord of G minor, a half cadence in G minor, the D7 chord. Whoops. Now the bridge, we start in G minor. So a G minor chord, and they're very cleverly playing around with our ears a little bit so that it's not full G minor, because look, the F sharps have gone away. We got 1 little F sharp, but then through these couple of bars, there's no more F sharps. So we're unstable here. We land on G minor solidly, but then we're like, huh, am I really in G minor? Which is great because it kind of leaves us with unsettling footing, which is exactly what the text is doing. I'm tempted to make a wrong choice, right? It's like a fork in the road. This is a harmonic fork in the road right here. G minor to D minor. Yes, D minor does exist in the key of G minor, but it's not the typical 5 chord. It's the minor 5 chord. Then to an E flat chord, which is the flat 6. That's very common in G minor. Back to kind of a weird 5 chord. Back to the E flat. Back to the weird 5 chord. Then we get a C minor 7, which is a 4 chord in G minor. That's pretty normal in G minor. Quite normal, in fact. And then, here's the chord that takes us back to B flat major. We get F7. Now, technically, an F major chord does exist in G minor, but it's not the normal F chord in G minor. G minor, if you build a chord on the 7th scale degree, it's usually with an F sharp. For reasons that are too long to explain here, but again, there's some of this in the free harmony lessons over in the Latter Day Musiversity app at ldmusiversity.com. Totally free. Check it out if you want. What he does is instead builds the chord on the lowered 7th scale, the F natural, which is the 5 chord in the key of B flat. So here's a really good takeaway from today. To get to G minor over here, we needed to have the 5-7 of G minor, the 5 chord. You don't actually have to have the 7, but you need the 5 chord of G minor. But then we needed to get back to B flat. And how did we do it? With the 5 of B flat. So the takeaway is, if you need to make your way to a new key in a convincing manner to any kind of audience, get to the 5 chord of that new key first, and you will have a satisfactory resolution, a gravitational pull toward that key center. It works very easily in this case because of the relative minor keys. Sometimes we modulate to further, more distant keys, which is why one of the reasons why some of the Tabernacle Choir modulations sound so different than this kind of modulation. But we can talk about those modulations another day. For now, I just want to, in our last few minutes here, take us through the chorus so we get a sense of the structure of the chorus. Okay, so we looked at already the scansion of it here, 10, 10, 11, 8. It's really 4 short phrases in 2-bar sections, right? Love one another as Jesus loves you, 2 measures. Try to show kindness in all that you do, 2 measures. Be gentle and loving in deed and in thought, 2 measures. For these are the things Jesus taught, 2 measures. So you might be thinking, well, then why isn't it 10, 10, 10, 10? Because sometimes we need an extra syllable. And that's like that's not a good educated answer, Dr. Pugh. Well, it's just the truth. So take it for what it's worth. I mean, let's see what she would have to leave out, right? Okay, love one another as Jesus loves you, 10. Try to show kindness in all that you do, 10. Be gentle and loving in deed and in thought. Gosh, can you remove a word from that? You can't remove be gentle and loving in deed. I suppose you could remove the word in, the second in. Be gentle and loving in deed and thought. No way. So she sneaks in an extra syllable, but she had space because in 6/8 we have these 3/8 notes. And, like up here, she's got, on the word you, she's holding this extra space. If she had to add an extra syllable in there, she could, because she's got 3/8 notes to work with. She needed an extra syllable there, so she snuck it in. And the last phrase, she only has 8. For these are the things Jesus taught. Why 8? Because she wants to end on the downbeat. not on the second half of the bar because it's the last phrase. So it's slightly shorter. Okay? And it fits symmetrically very beautifully. 2 bars, 2 bars, 2 bars, 2 bars. Okay? So our chorus, finishing our little graph here, the chorus is 8 bars. Let's see, my drawing skills need a lot of work here, I know. So we were in G minor, sort of, and we ended with an F7. Oops, wrong color. We ended with an F7, which took us back to B flat with a nice 1 chord. Let's see, the halfway point here is another half cadence. See, it pauses on the 5. This is getting messy, sorry. It pauses on the 5, so we have another comma, half cadence, pausing on the 5, 4 bars and 4 bars. Now, was it a parallel period? Remember, to decide, we look at the beginning of the tune. And then the second half, did they start the same? They did. So another parallel period. So we have an intro, 4 bars. We have a verse, 8 bars, parallel period. That takes us to a new tonal center of G minor. We have a bridge that is kind of balanced out symmetrically with the intro, right? These two make a group of 8. And this is kind of this transitory, how do I get from this land of the tempted and back to the iron rod, here to the chorus, and then we have another sort of very symmetrical, like the verse shape of 8 bars. But this time, there's no trickery at the end. We have a fully fledged, authentic cadence, and she drives the point home with these little... Can't mistake it. We're home. We're at the 1 chord. So authentic cadence on the 1. Okay? This kind of the screen you see now, like on the right hand side, this little diagram may look like a total disaster mess to you, but it's so incredibly helpful when you're writing a song, a primary song, an arrangement, whatever, to help you as you, in your composer brain, get a bird's eye view of where the piece is going. Because your audience, they don't care about how in measure 7 you used a German augmented 6th chord in a major key. So, nobody cares, really. What they care about is how it makes them feel, especially when it comes to church music. So it's what's important is that you know what they're expecting. And, if we're thinking of an LDS congregation, their context, their frame of mind is the hymns in the hymn book and the songs in the primary children's songbook. They're expecting something along those lines. And the further we travel from that, the more convincing we have to be with our composer tools to really show them that this can still work. And that's the fun and the challenge and the torment of being a composer and an arranger sometimes. But if you're just if you're sticking close to what we expect, then it really helps the audience. But this bird's eye view helps you to take it out of cookie cutter primary song or cookie cutter hymn arrangement and take it a little somewhere different. But you gotta be able to know where you're going, right? And truly, like Elder Uchtdorf says, it's a matter of a few degrees. You shave off a measure of this intro and make it a 3-bar intro, and it'll be like, what? It will not feel right. Or extend this verse by 1 measure, and it will totally be like out of whack. It'll have a hitch in its get along, as my grandma used to say. So there's certain things like the symmetry of the 4-bar phrases and the 8-bar phrases and the half cadences and the authentic cadences that the congregation expect, and that helps them to know where they are and what they're supposed to be feeling. Because if we can't help them feel the right thing, have we succeeded? Even as clever as we may be, I don't think so. We have not succeeded in that case. And this is the challenge, because the more you learn, the more you want to use the cool new stuff you learn. But don't make the mistake that so many composers do of using the cool new stuff for the sake of using the cool new stuff. Use that new stuff when it's needed to create an emotional moment, something special, and it'll make a huge difference. Okay, let's call it there for today. I want to keep these to around a half an hour. If I go over a little bit, that's totally fine. I hope you got a little something out of this. I'd love to hear from you if you did. Love to get some suggestions. Like I said, this is the very first one of these that I'm scheduled to do every Wednesday at noon in case I'm out of town or something, unless I'm out of town or something, but we'll find another day for that. I think next week it will be a lot of fun to go a little deeper into this song and see what is it that makes the tune so memorable. And how does the harmony support that? So that's my plan for now. But I'm open to thoughts, and please feel free to write in. You can drop a note here in the Latter-day Musiversity Facebook group, or shoot me a message at doug@douglaspew.com. That's totally fine too. Hope you enjoyed it, and if you would like more of this kind of thing, there's some free lessons inside the Latter-day Musiversity smartphone and iPad app, which you can get for free, not in the App Store. Don't go to the App Store. Go to ldmusiversity.com, and there's instructions about how to get access to the app for free. You'll download an app called Learnistic, but wait till you get the email that you sign up for. It'll have all the instructions in there. You'll get into the Latter-day Musiversity app. In there, I will put recordings of these lives. There's some other recordings in there. If you've joined one of my workshops or my courses that I teach, you'll find that material in there as well. And there's some free intro to harmony lessons and a bunch more coming around the corner. So I hope you enjoyed it, and look forward to seeing you again next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, and feel free to bring some friends if you'd like. Alrighty, take care, and we'll see ya.